Well, Laura, you are the third member of the NFL Live crew to come on this podcast. I've had Spears and Mina on. I don't want Orlovsky on. At
No,
some point, he'll be
you don't
last.
need him.
He'll be last. I had Fowler on a couple weeks ago. We were kind of going through his schedule, and I know people are curious because you do so many different things. What is a week in the life of Laura Rutledge like? Maybe this week specifically, since you had a Monday night game.
Yeah, that's this is a good week to kind of give the full spectrum. And Dave, I know you can relate to this, doing so much that you do as well. But yeah, so this week, Monday night, we were in Kansas City. So I actually, to backtrack slightly, I went directly there from SEC Nation, which was in Jacksonville. But anyway, there on Monday night, did NFL Live from there, did the game, and then 5:50 a.m. flight through DC back to Bradley Airport here in Connecticut, and then came straight to the studio because we had a trade deadline special. So it was a 2-hour show yesterday for the trade deadline. And then today is just like a normal day. Got to take my daughter Reese to school and hang out with my son Jack in the morning. And then coming here to do NFL Live today. I'll do the same thing tomorrow. And then Friday morning, early flight to Oxford, Mississippi for SEC Nation. We're there for the Ole Miss Georgia game. And I'll do that. And then actually don't have Monday Night Football this coming week. So I will get to go home on Saturday night. So it's hard to get, I know this may surprise some people. It's hard to get from Oxford back to Connecticut. So I've got I'm going Memphis through somewhere to fly in. So I won't get back till, 8:30 Saturday night, but it is a total gift to have a Sunday at home. It'll be great.
Oh, yeah. And I can relate with the people ask me all the time, well, how did you get here? Because I've got LA for NBA. I go to Knoxville for that game Saturday night, and then got to get to Nashville to fly back to Arizona Sunday morning for Cardinals Jets. So it's a puzzle piece when it comes to travel. And I know you obviously are a family woman, and you mentioned your kids. How do you balance a wife and a mom to two working as much as you do? I'm sure you get asked that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the real MVP there is my husband, Josh, who just holds it down so well at home. And, it's this time of year is certainly the craziest. NFL Live's a year-round show, but a lot of times in the off season, I'm at home, and the schedule is great because I can be there when they wake up and for breakfast and, getting them to school and all that. And then during this time of year, I'm just hoping that anytime I'm with them, I'm present with them. I'm focused on them. I'm sitting on the ground with them and talking directly to them and all those things. And I don't always nail that. And I beat myself up over it all the time. And then when I'm at work, I try to be as engaged with what I'm doing here and really focus on that. And so I think it's giving yourself some grace and then finding ways to really make whatever time you're spending with your kids and your spouse at home really count. It's pretty funny. Like Josh and I have started a thing sometimes on Thursday mornings. We have like a little breather moment and we'll go just get coffee together after we drop Reese off and Jack's taking a nap. There's a babysitter there. We're not just sleeping at home. But just any little opportunity to get some time to connect is fun, and just checking on each other, hey, how you doing? Because you know how it goes. Sometimes you can end up ships passing in the night, trying to manage all this.
So obviously, Jack, we don't know yet if he's going to be a future broadcaster, but it seems like Reese is headed that way, just given how, and I know you're on Feinbaum, and I guess there was a caller who was not real happy with either Reese's picks or just the fact that Reese is making picks on social media. Can you elaborate?
So this guy, Jim from Tuscaloosa, Dave, I have to tell you, I have known him for years. Now, I've never met him because nobody's ever seen him because apparently he's older than he wants people to know that he is. I don't know. There's some whole thing with that. But back in the day, I used to spend hours with Paul Feinbaum on his show. And so I really got to know a lot of the callers. And it was a lovely thing that Paul did for me in the earlier part of my career, and just giving me that platform and giving me the opportunity to, I think, develop credibility amongst people and also kind of show that I can have a lot of fun and I'm not going to take things too seriously when people are coming at you. I mean, that caller base is something special. And so Jim would attack me then at times, but Then he kind of backed off a little bit. So anyway, he's back on the attack mode with me. And his real gripe was that he thinks it's annoying. He liked it when it was just Reese, but he doesn't like Jack for some reason. So I think it's really baby Jack that's in his crosshairs, which I don't know. Like, I'm biased, but this guy is the cutest little guy. I don't know like what his problem is, but yeah, he came at us but then he backed off big time and he told me that it was really Feinbaum that he was mad about. So Paul's like, great. So now it's all on me. Like, how did this happen? But I don't know. My thing always, I never think that I have fans or I don't know. That seems like ridiculous to me. But if people want to talk to us, and I know I'm sure you have a lot of people that come up and want to talk to you. I always love that. I love that interaction. Like they're even if it's negative, I love hearing from people and I love kind of trying to explain like where I'm coming from and why I would do something that people didn't like or whatever it is. So I would chalk that one up to ultimately a win. It was good. It was good to talk it out with Jim.
Well, I've always said if you can't get along with Laura Rutledge, you're the problem. And I think you mentioned that you don't take yourself seriously and you like people. You're just a cool person. I met you a decade ago before your career skyrocketed. You were doing sideline on a college football game, and you were awesome then, and you're still awesome. And I know everybody feels the same way. You're one of the easiest people to get along with. And I think that's why you're so relatable because people like the whole thing with the wardrobe mishaps, and maybe you can elaborate. So there was one Monday Night Football, and then there was another one earlier this year at the OU Texas game, and there were two different wardrobe mishaps.
I literally I shouldn't be trusted like wearing so it's funny because I'm wearing what I'm gonna wear on NFL Live and I'm just waiting to see what I'm gonna spill on this or like if something's gonna rip or I don't know. But yeah, so the OU Texas game was actually pretty funny. We had done SEC Nation from the State Fair of Texas, and then I was doing the game, so I needed to get into the stadium and I started looking around. Funny enough, I was also doing Jets calls from Monday Night Football. So I'd finished the show and then I needed to do these calls and then I was going to go do the game. But during that time, I realized I'm like, golly, it's getting really crowded here and I've got to get into the stadium somehow. And we're kind of far from the stadium. So I start walking because I'm thinking I need to just get in there, and I'm by myself and I got this like big old duffel bag of nonsense. I don't even need any of this stuff. I don't know what I'm doing, but I had to take it with me. And I'm like trying to get through the crowd and it was a disaster. And so this fan did not mean to, but spilled just a whole bunch of beer all down my shirt. And I was wearing a white shirt. So it was not a good choice by me. Like really that was party foul on me. I should have been wearing a color that wasn't going to, show beer stains. So it was like beer, but then somebody else, I don't know if it was nacho cheese or something like I was just in the crowd. So I was getting all this stuff spilled. And finally I was like, well, I don't have anything else to wear, so we're just gonna have to wear this. So that was the number one. And then the other night on Monday Night Football, I was wearing, tights because it was cold. And I looked down halfway through the show. This camera guy was trying to tell me something like he's pointing at my leg. And I'm like, what's he talking about? I looked down, there's this massive hole, like my tights had ripped. I don't know when that happened or why it happened. So then all night I got these ripped tights. I'm looking like, a ragamuffin out there. My mom is mortified. My grandma's probably mortified. So I don't know. What are you going to do? I'm a mess.
Again, though, but the fact you handle it the way you do, I think, is what makes people watch you and like you because you're so relatable. You're so relatable.
Well, you're so kind. And I got to say, thinking back to when I got to work with you guys on that crew years ago, we went to Waffle House. It was like the big tradition that you guys had, which I loved. And I have always talked about that. It was such a big opportunity for me. And everybody on the crew, but you leading the charge there, were so welcoming, so kind, so receptive of, anything that I was bringing to the table. And I was so nervous. And it's just so nice to know that there are people out there like you, you being a great example of this, that will always extend that to people. And it goes such a long way, Dave.
Well, it was clear that we all knew that you were destined for big things. 2 years ago, we did the Las Vegas Bowl together. And it was so interesting because I was in the booth with Kirk and Pat.
Yes, that's right.
What I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was different. I mean, I've worked with a lot of different analysts, a lot of
Yeah.
unique personalities. Obviously, McAfee is very unique. Do you
Yeah.
remember anything specific about that day?
So, yes, I thought you did such a good job with them, by the way, because that was really before, like, he was doing some things, but he wasn't doing obviously the level that he's doing now on ESPN. And the thing I remember most is pregame. I think you were down there for some of this too. Like all the players were going up to him and talking to him. Remember he had that gold jacket on?
Yeah.
It was so like ornate and perfect for Vegas, but yeah, I remember thinking, wow, he's got such a presence with this younger crowd and certainly he does. So really fun. But I mean, goodness, like he was so nice about everything, which I'm sure you experienced as well.
Yeah, he was
Mm.
fantastic. I really enjoyed it. One more broadcasting question, then I do want to talk a little Cardinals before we let you go.
I bet.
Was there ever a time when you got to ESPN, or maybe even before, that you were in such a competitive business? It's a subjective business. It's a business where timing matters.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's show business, but it is in some ways like Hollywood, where who you know matters, timing matters. There's so many good people. Sometimes it's hard to stand out. Was there ever a time you were concerned about whether you would get to do what you wanted to do in this business?
Oh my goodness. So many times. I mean, and I try to share this with anybody that I mentor or young people that I meet, that want to do this. Like I feel like the story of a lot of people who have any sort of success in this business is that most of the doors are closed. And it really is about taking that closed door and finding an open window that you can go through or whatever it may be. I mean, and it's just going to be, I think, a lot of times not the path that you thought it would be. So, yes, there were so many times. There was actually my second year at SEC Network. So I got hired when the network launched in 2014 and I was 25 years old. The second year, I had had a lot of experience. I was doing baseball, so I did a ton of games. I needed a lot of work, but I had a lot of experience for that age, right? So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to take a chance on this SEC Network job, which was a major pay cut from what I was doing at Fox at that time, and a totally different opportunity. But I wanted to take that leap of faith. And anyway, after the first year, it was such a small contract, and they came back to me and they're like, yeah, I mean, you're kind of like dispensable. We don't really, I'm not going to name names, but this was the feedback. Like, we don't really know what the path is and all that. And I remember thinking like, wow, I sat here and grinded it out. I did all of these different sports. I did anything that they asked, right? And but yet I took it after being angry for a couple days and I thought, okay, so I didn't do enough. So what am I going to do that's going to make me stand out, in the year to come? And I stayed on the same football package that year, didn't get promoted when other people did. So I had a struggle that year specifically that I think I've referenced a lot since in my own brain and the way that I've looked at it. I don't know if I've ever talked about it, but I realized that I was truly comparing myself to others. And that was how I was approaching everything. And the quote, comparison is the thief of joy, could never be more true. It was really, it finally clicked to me like, wow, if I could just instead be happy for other people, continue to work really hard, be happy for other people's success, know that maybe mine is coming, or you hope that it's coming. Try not to live in self-doubt all the time. I thought, let me try to have an attitude change and see what happens. And really looking back, that was kind of a turning point in my career where the progress was still slow, but there was progress. And I started to see things happening. And I thought, okay, I would have never in a million years imagined the blessings that have come since. I couldn't have fathomed it in my wildest dreams. So I wouldn't say that I thought, oh, okay, if I do all this, I'm going to be, have the chance to be on Monday Night Football or something. That wasn't even in my vision going forward, but it was more just seeing progress. And I think the biggest difference was really being happy for other people and their success and not comparing myself to them all the time.
And it's so easy in this business to do that, right? There's only one lead job for
Right.
Monday Night Football or hosting NFL Live or SEC Nation or doing the NBA finals or
Right.
being the voice, being the lead person on the Sports Center at 6 p.m. I mean, there's only
Yeah.
so few of these jobs, and a conversation I have a lot with former players and coaches that get into this business is sometimes they're like, well, I think I should be doing this. And I'm like, well, it's not like playing sports. The best
Yeah.
players don't always play. It is a
So true.
different business. All right.
Hmm.
What have the discussions on your show on NFL Live been about the Cardinals? 3 straight wins, 5-4, Jets coming this week. What have the conversations been like on the air?
Well, I'm not just saying this to play to the crowd, but we really like the Cardinals and we've been impressed. Early on, as you guys I'm sure have talked about, we felt like Marvin Harrison Jr. wasn't involved enough in the offense. And then now kind of seeing him become more of a go-to target has been fun. But I think Kyler is, as the kids say, in his bag. I mean, he's looked great. And when that offense is truly going through him, I mean, he's the most dynamic playmaker um, that the Cardinals have offensively, right? But he's one of the most dynamic playmakers in the NFL. So when that's really working, I think we're going to continue to see a lot more success. I have this can be fact checked. I have been picking the Cardinals a lot this year. I've been right some, I've been wrong other times. But one of the reasons being because I just keep feeling like, and I felt like they were going to do it when we had them on Monday Night Football against the Chargers. I picked them that week, which I would admit, even if I was wrong, but I was right that time. But I just feel like they're cooking with something really special, and it seems like they sort of believe in themselves. They've got a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, so we love talking about them on NFL Live, and we're going to continue to a lot. I think. Hopefully, they win this week. Be fun.
I know Dan Orlovsky has been very bullish on Kyler. I'm sure you covered Kyler when he was in college and now in the
Yeah.
NFL. How have you seen him grow and mature as a player and as a person during this time?
I think that's well said, player and person, right? Because there were some things that are just unique about Kyler, right? He's not your, guy that's going to stand up there and handle the press conference like a Peyton Manning would. And by the way, that's okay. And I think it's been cool to see him stay true to some of what got him there. I mean, he's always been this guy that felt like he had to prove people wrong. And I remember even back to hearing in the college football playoff and, him feeling like they weren't getting respect um, up against the big bad SEC. And of course, now they're in the SEC, Oklahoma is. But at that time, that was something that really bothered him. And he would tell me, like, he was not scared to say, you guys disrespect us and all of that. And I think some of that, the way that he approaches the media maybe or the outside world, sometimes people don't know how to handle that. But I think it's who he is. And then I would say, from the playing standpoint, you just see him. I think this season, he's finally healthy. He looks like he feels better. And we're just seeing that dynamic ability. I mean, he starts running and making plays outside the pocket, and you're like, oh my God, this guy is a cheat code, And I think we've seen that develop a lot. We've also seen him become, I think, a better decision maker because he's had to be, and this guy can be the limit for him if he continues to get the support around him. And if James Conner continues to run the ball as well as he has, he's just one of my favorite players I've ever covered. And I think he's such a key, obviously, to that offense.
You mentioned James Conner. I was going to go there next. What specifically stands out to you about him? Do you have a special memory? I had Rinaldi on a few weeks ago, and he talked about the bond that he and James have developed from Tom
Yeah.
doing these deep stories on him when he was back at Pitt.
Yes. So he's an amazing person. I mean, truly. I'll start there, just telling his story. And I did cover him back at Pitt, and I was doing Thursday Night Football for a while. So got to see him there. And I've never encountered a player that was more grateful for whatever their burden was. It was like he was truly grateful that he was going through cancer treatments and trying to, still play football after that and all of that. And I'm thinking, my goodness, what an amazing perspective, and that's who he is. Like, that's not manufactured. So I love that. And then as a player, he's just so tough. And I almost feel like every time he runs the ball, it's like he's grateful to be able to do it. So he has this like, I don't know if it's just like this mentality of I'm not letting up because I'm lucky to be here. I'm lucky to be able to do this and do it at the level that I'm doing it. So um, if you ever think about like, I think sometimes running backs like run the ball the way that their personality is, and he's definitely an example of that. Just his love for the game and his love and zest for life and all of that. Just that toughness though for sure sticks out.
All right, last one. How much on the show are you guys talking about the Cardinals defensively in generalities with Nick Rollis and the job he's doing with all the
Yeah.
injuries the Cardinals have had? And then how much you guys talking about Budda Baker specifically on defense?
So we've loved Budda Baker on NFL Live for years. I feel like he's like, we have a few favorite players, if you will, and he would definitely be in that category. Especially just with Ryan Clark being on the show, and we love secondary players. So there's a lot of conversation around Budda Baker. And yes, I mean, I think in general, when we talk about the Cardinals, they have found ways defensively to be so good. And it's seemingly, how is it possible with everything they've dealt with injury wise? So we've been very impressed. I mean, you're right. The offense kind of gets a lot of the love because of Kyler and all of that. And that makes sense. But the defense deserves a ton of credit too. And, a great opportunity this week against the Jets for that defense to show what it's made of and to give Aaron Rodgers some trouble.
All right, Laura, you're the best. You're awesome. So good to talk to you. So good to see you. Have a great show today and all the other stuff you have going on this week.
Thank you. You too, Dave. And I really appreciate getting to do this. So thank you so much.